Well, what is up, all of you variants from across the multiverse? This is Geekverse Reactions presented by Mando Talk, and I am so glad to be back. It's been a while since we've done these hour-long just discussions, kind of reviews, podcasts, whatever you want to call it. I'm so glad to be back, and I'm so glad that we're starting to crank it up again. We took like 3 weeks off, but we're back tonight with the Batman spoiler discussion, and joining me is DJ Foster at Rebel Scum Texan on Twitter. What is up? And currently he's actually Batman himself.
Welcome to Geekverse Reactions.
No, I am doing pretty good. Life has gotten crazy, and not just because of Batman.
Sure.
Batman added to the crazy of my life right now, and I'm not even upset about it. That side of it, I could be upset about other stuff, but I'm gonna just put that away and try to get over the fact that I've been sick for the last week.
Yeah.
I haven't slept in 6 weeks. You know, but you know what? I saw Batman, so life is good.
Dude, yeah, no, I was just going to say life is fantastic after seeing Batman. Just spoiler alert already, fantastic in my opinion. I had an absolute ball watching that thing. Before we actually do dive deep into some spoilers and start sharing some specific things, I do want to say that again, I'm thrilled to be back in front of the mic, in front of the camera, and delivering some content for you guys. And tell you what, I actually just want to give an announcement just real quickly, because I know it's been a minute, so you might be thinking, okay, now that Boba Fett's over, all this stuff, what's Mando Talk doing? So I do want to just, let you know, Mando Talk, Return of the Talk, is in full effect. What we're going to start doing for sure, you can bank on it each and every single week. Star Wars live stream every single Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. That is not going away. Obviously, Mando Talk, we are Star Wars centered. Those of you that have always been with us, you know that. That's not going away. We're going to keep doing it every single Thursday. But all this Geekverse reaction stuff is going to be sprinkled in. Like, for example, I know Moon Knight is coming later this month, and I believe DJ is committed to being able to get me like the first episode reaction, because I will actually be off at Disney, so I'm not going to be able to see the thing or react to the thing. So I mean, I'm kind of jealous though of not being able to react to Moon Knight. I'm pretty excited about seeing the thing, but I will be able to be at Galaxy's Edge and enjoying all that stuff, so I can't be too jealous. But I did want to make that announcement. Don't think that, oh, these guys haven't posted anything in a hot minute. Trust me, Return of the Talk is activated. We are brewing up some content for you guys. We're going to keep on delivering it like we were. We really were delivering a ton of stuff there for a while.
Yeah.
We were going live Tuesdays and Thursdays. It got insane. And by the way, Tuesdays we'll come back with Kenobi. We're getting there. But right now, we'll chill.
Only a matter of time.
Yeah, only a matter of time. But listen, let's get into this thing. Let's get into our Batman spoiler discussions. Unless, DJ, there's any other kind of general announcement you want to make as far as what Mando Talk's trying to do moving forward.
I'm gonna tell you what we're trying to do. We're trying to get somewhere. We're trying to get to 200 subs before Kenobi.
Great call.
That's what we're trying to do. So if you've never subscribed to Mando Talk here on the YouTube, click the subscribe button immediately.
Yes, do it.
For all the reasons that Caleb just said, and who knows what other reasons there will be eventually. I mean, there's bound to be other reasons as we go forward as to why you should subscribe, you listener, viewer, person. So please, or alien, I don't know, maybe,
sure.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll interview an alien. That's a reason. That's a reason to sub.
Maybe. Well, listen.
There are no aliens.
Let's get into it, guys. Let's get into discussing the Batman in full spoilers. Can't wait to do it. Full spoiler alert. If you don't know at this point, I don't know what else to tell you. We're fixing to spoil this this movie. And like I said earlier, fantastic film from beginning to end. I was floored, if I'm being completely honest. Like, I'm still wrapping my head around this film, and usually before we do spoiler discussions, I try to get a second viewing in. That hasn't been able to happen with the Batman. I don't know if it's going to be able to happen until it gets released physically. but something that it was hard to develop show notes for this film because, and I'm gonna throw out the conversation of, is it the best Batman? Is it the best portrayal? Whatever. I do feel pretty confident in saying though that this is the most complex Batman story to date, because again, when I was trying to create these notes and remember the plot and all of the details, it was near impossible based off of just one viewing. So that's my first take. Number one is by far, in my opinion, the most complex Batman film to date. I'll pass it to you, DJ, just to share some general thoughts on the film.
Well, first of all, I want to share how I saw the movie first. Okay. I got a sponsored ad on Instagram from a law firm. Okay. That was giving away tickets to see the movie. And I won tickets to go see the movie. Like, my wife and I drove way too far away, but we went to this town near us, and we saw this movie totally for free because we'd won these tickets.
That's awesome.
Not to mention, they gave us gift cards for the theater, so we got to like have dinner and a movie for free. It was awesome. So like, I was very excited because that was the first time we'd been able to go out without our child since she'd been born. And that was a little rough on us, but it was really cool to kind of go see Batman. Now, having said that, I have not stopped thinking about this movie. I mean, this has been I haven't thought this much about something in a long time. I was pleasantly surprised throughout the whole thing. I mean, people ask me, what'd you think? And I've told them it's a top 3 Batman. I mean, it's a top 3 Batman film. And then one person asked me, what's it like? And I said, it's like Batman 1989 meets Blade Runner. Like the original Harrison Ford Blade Runner. Like that to me is the best way to know what you're getting into going into this. And normally I wouldn't say, oh, this Batman's like another Batman, which it's not, but like, it gives you a similar style as to how Michael Keaton's Batman was. So for me, that's how this movie really played out. It really is a top 3. I mean, it's incredible. I'm not even sure how to rank it amongst the other Batman films yet.
Yeah, and that's kind of something that I've kind of pumped the brakes on doing for me personally, as far as like, let's compare this version to Christian Bale, to Keaton, and yada, yada, yada. Like, and I said this in my reaction video immediately following watching the film from theater. In my opinion, I enjoy all portrayals, maybe Clooney and Kilmer, maybe not, but they all bring something to the character that others hadn't. And Robert Pattinson, and this is already kind of getting into our first key topic, which is a perfect little segue here as far as just character analysis goes. Robert Pattinson brought something to Batman that got me excited, that felt fresh, that felt new, and I loved his portrayal of that character. So I mean, I'm thrilled with Robert Pattinson and his delivery of Batman. What about you, just specifically on Pattinson himself?
On Pattinson alone, it's kind of funny to be stoked about this guy. I'm just going to be honest, because I was in high school when Twilight came out.
Yes.
And because I had this like weird preconceived, he's the Twilight guy. It took me a while to get over it. And then the trailer came out, last year or whenever it did. And I saw it and I was like, this is not what I was expecting from Pattinson. And then having seen the movie now come full circle, Robert Pattinson is got to be one of the best Batman. I mean, I don't even know how else to say it. It just he's very commanding in that suit.
Yeah.
He knows how to wear that Batman suit. And I'm wondering, if they did similar things like they did with Christian Bale, did they put Pattinson in an old Batman outfit and, screen test him as Batman that way? I have no idea. They could have. I really don't know. But there's so many things about the way he walks, the way he moves, the way he fights, the way he just has a very commanding spirit about him when it comes to playing this role. The only thing for me, this is my only, I'll call it a negative, but I don't know if it's his fault necessarily. He was a great Batman. I just don't know how much Bruce Wayne he was.
Yes.
You know,
you
like,
nailed that, and that's something
okay.
that I agree with as well.
And I'm glad I'm not the only person who thinks that. And I haven't really seen a whole lot of Batman discussion online just yet. I mean, I've seen, I loved it. Did you like it? I loved it. And I've seen like maybe one or two people like, I hated that. You know, I
Yeah,
just, and not very few people I've heard say that. So with that being the case, I think that, you know, he nailed Batman. But there were moments as Bruce Wayne where I was like, you're playing a specific kind of Bruce Wayne.
right.
And I think that's why it's excuse me, I think that's why it's different. And that's
Yeah.
why it's like I can't really put my finger on it because again, he isn't only his second year. It's year
Mm-hmm.
2 Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I guess as far as Pattinson goes, I know I'm kind of steering away from that. I need to come back.
Oh
No,
no, you're fine.
Pattinson really nailed the man in the suit.
Yeah.
And to a degree, he nailed Bruce Wayne, but
Mm-hmm.
not like all the way, I feel like.
Right. And no, I mean that's again the next character on our list that I have in our character analysis list is actually Bruce Wayne. I always
There you
like to
go.
separate the two. And for me, you know, I 1000% agree with you. But on the flip side though, I think Robert Pattinson delivered what the director asked him to do with Bruce Wayne because
Yes.
I think it's very evident as far as by the end of this film that Bruce Wayne and Batman is growing old. He's growing up by the end of this movie. And
Yes.
if we get that sequel, which would be crazy if we didn't, then we might get those more I don't brassy, charismatic kind of Bruce
Yeah.
Wayne that we're accustomed to.
Sure.
I just think it's too early as far as Bruce Wayne's life to be at that spot. And so I think
Yeah, that's fair.
Pattinson nailed the Batman Bruce Wayne that
Yeah.
Matt Reeves wanted to deliver. And so in that instance he did Bruce Wayne perfectly, just not your traditional Bruce Wayne that we're used to necessarily.
Well, that was something. So I don't know if you did this before you saw this Batman or not, but I watched Batman Begins a few days before seeing this movie, and I did it on purpose. I wanted we'll call it a palate cleanser, I guess. I wanted something to compare this to, and not like in a which one's better, more like what am I seeing that's similar and different. And the thing that Christian Bale did that Pattinson also did was give us this jaded version of Bruce Wayne, either not really before he put on the suit, but like, you know, he's still in this Pattinson, in this Batman, he's still wrestling with who he is versus Batman, because even Riddler later on is like, that's your mask, you know, or your mask is Bruce Wayne. It's not, you know, Batman. So Christian Bale really didn't have to deal with that. He had fully come to, I'm Batman and I know how to also be Bruce Wayne by the time you get to In Batman Begins. So you're right to say, you know, he didn't really get there yet because he's still early on. And I like that, because I feel like that is actually what I feel like that's what any of us would do. If like you suddenly were thrust into this position of, I'm going to go be, you know, Batman, you know, it sounds absurd to say, but like, you think about it, if you're thrust into that position, you know, it's going to take a second for you to separate, okay, I'm DJ Foster versus Batman. You know, it's hard to, you got to get to that point. You know what I mean? And I think you kind of nail that. And when you say, okay, you know, he's not there yet, but could he get there? Yeah, he definitely could get there.
Absolutely. And shout out to Ezra West in the live chat that said,
what up?
That's a Matt Reeves decision. No Playboy persona yet. He's a Batman that was uncomfortable, hated being out of the cowl. So yeah, absolutely agree with that. Christian Fandom Geek says, howdy folks, still going to watch this film. Well, then you might want to come back and check us out if you haven't seen the film yet. We don't want to spoil it for you because it's way too good. It's way too good for us two redneck country sounding folk to spoil that movie for you.
Yeah. And Christian Fandom Geek is a homeboy over from the UK. So like,
oh, nice.
So he's probably already having a hard time hearing us.
Yeah. There you go.
The accent.
Yeah. Okay. So next character I have here on the list for us to analyze, Selena Kyle. Portrayed by Zoe Kravitz. I said in my reaction, best Catwoman to date. I stand by it, so I'll just pass it to you, DJ.
No, the best Catwoman to this day is still Michelle Pfeiffer.
Nah.
All right. No, she is. Listen, you know that scene in Batman 89 where she whips the mannequin heads off one after the other? She did that in one take. Okay. Now, Zoe Kravitz, she probably didn't even use a whip. It was probably a stunt woman. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. I could be wrong. But
Whatevs.
I think that this Selena Kyle was so much different and it fit this world.
Yeah.
Like, and the things that they did with her character versus what they've done with her character in the past were brand spanking new. You know, I've spent since I saw it on Thursday. Since Thursday, I've watched probably 5 different animated Batman films on HBO Max.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm up with the kid and, you know, trying to get her to sleep. I've got a little extra time in the mornings and the evenings. So I'm just kind of like, you know what? I've not done this before. I'm going to watch these. And every iteration of Selena Kyle genuinely is different. And it's one of the neatest things about her character is that every version of her is different.
Yeah.
And this is the same case. When you see how Zoe Kravitz performs this character and what she does with this character, it is genuinely good. It's not the best Catwoman by any means, not in my opinion.
That's fair.
It's better than Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
I'll say that. It's leaps and bounds better than Halle Berry. Okay. It's better than the Gotham TV series, Selena Kyle.
Yeah.
And I love the Gotham TV series, Selena Kyle. Selena Kyle there, I don't know what the writers did. They lost their way with that character at some point. But this Catwoman, this version of Selena Kyle, hands down one of the best, you know, that's ever played the character.
Yeah.
Very, very good casting, I felt.
Oh yeah, and with the tease that's made toward the end, I hope we're not done with her portrayal. Great stuff from her. This one, the next one, I was even more so impressed with. Paul Dano as the Riddler. Goodness gracious. Chilling as soon as he pops up on the screen, chilling to the bone. And again, this is something I mentioned during the reaction. Like his introduction in that moment, which was like the first 5 minutes of the film when we first see
quick.
Riddler.
Yeah, it was quick.
I knew from there, I was like, whoa, this is going to be heavy. This is going to be chilling. This is going to be freaking fantastic. And it kept riding through it because, you know, it was just like, it gave me like Jason from Friday the 13th vibes, just standing there in the background in the shadows, just waiting to kill. And I was just like, ooh, here we go. Here we go. I couldn't wait to see. Here we go, going dark side. I couldn't wait to see violence. It was just great. What did you think of Paul Dano as Riddler?
First of all, this is the darkest Riddler to date. It is. And I don't know much about the character of the Riddler. I know his name originally is Edward Nygma. I think they may have played with that a little bit in this film.
Yes, Edward Nash.
Yeah,
Edward Nashton.
They had 2 different IDs that they threw out on the table at one point, and I thought, okay, does one of those IDs say Nygma? But it was gone, and I couldn't see it again. But because Enigma is another word for like a riddle, it's always been that, you know, play on words there. So to watch him, dude, I could talk about this for a while, but I'm not going to. Paul Dano as the Riddler, best Riddler there has ever been.
Yeah,
period.
It was
Riddler in Gotham, the series was amazing. He was my favorite Riddler until now. This is the best Riddler ever, period. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, well, let's do this just to get to our other things. Let's look at one more character here, one more bigger character here that was Penguin. Colin Farrell portrayed Penguin. Okay. The character was enough for me to be more interested in the character, but I guess I felt like there could be more. But I feel like that was on purpose, that there could be more with this character, because obviously we needed to focus on Riddler in this movie. But, you know, I had that feeling of, oh, okay, yeah, he did good. That Penguin was great. Yeah. But that feeling of, man, I want more of that character was more so taking over, which, again, is probably by design. But that's kind of where I'm at with Colin Farrell as Penguin.
I loved the Penguin.
Yeah.
He played his role perfectly. Penguin, it's clear, like, he may be like this old ugly looking dude, but he is still an up and coming villain. His story has yet to be told. And if you've seen Gotham, the series, Penguin is like the catalyst. I mean, he is the main villain for so much of that series. So it's kind of neat to think I'm now watching Penguin in another universe make his up and coming debut. How he gets to power is seen in this movie. Just, oh my goodness, this Penguin was incredible. I mean, Danny DeVito, who, you know, I mean, it's gone. You know, he's not coming back. You know, this is the best Penguin. You know, and it's funny to say that this is the best Riddler, it's the best Penguin, and not say this is the best Catwoman and this is the best Batman. You know, I haven't actually decided if it's the best Batman yet. Just for everybody, I don't know.
Yeah,
I just don't know. You know, like I want to say it. I got to see it probably 10 more times.
Sure.
But this is the best Penguin. And I'm kind of looking ahead at our other ones. I mean, you wrote down Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon, you know, Alfred, you know, being played by Andy Serkis, who I love. I wish there was more of him in this movie. You know, Carmine Falcone, played by John Turturro, a legend. And then that nice little cameo of the Joker.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know who Barry, you know, Coogan is.
He's Druig from Eternals.
Druig from Eternals. Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love
range
it.
Of that guy.
I love it. I love that cool dude. Stuff. I love the potential of that dude as Joker. I know we only get so much. Whoa. But well, give it to me. Come on, give it to me.
I don't know, man. I think the rest of these characters, it was special.
Yeah.
If this ends up being a one-off, which I really don't want it to be, but if it's a one-off, you know, it'll go down in film history as one of like those. Why did we not make more of those?
Right. They gotta be made. This is way too loaded of a cast, man. Yeah.
I agree.
It's got to be coming. Okay, let's more specifically start to get into the plot of this thing. We just kind of want to, or at least that's kind of where my thought process went immediately, because for me, online discussion seems to be focused on like just the characters that showed up in this thing and like how they were landing with so many people. So I definitely wanted to address that off the top. But let's get into, you know, just reflection type questions based on the plot itself. And this is totally open. I really don't even know if I have answers to some of these yet, but I think these are some great discussion point questions. The first one that I have listed is, how did we feel about the tone of the film? Totally different compared to, like I said, anything that we've seen before. A little bit of mixtures of things that we've seen before, but on its own, it's completely fresh, completely new. I know for me, I loved the full-on detectiveness of this Batman. That was by far the like W of this film, and then tonally, obviously, just the darkness of it. Like it got so close. It got so close to rated R, guys. It's like just enough. It avoids showing blood and it avoids like nudity, but everything else was R-rated content almost.
I mean, just dang nearly, you know, including tonally, film noir is what this is. You know, I've only seen a handful, maybe only like one or two film noir, you know, type genres, but kind of how like Rian Johnson's Knives Out brought the whodunit, you know, the murder mystery back into the forefront.
Yeah.
I think this movie could bring back that narrated film noir detective style, because this is not a genre that people are familiar with today unless you watch like Turner Classic Movies, you know, like that's the only way you're ever going to know what this is.
Yeah.
So tonally speaking, oh my goodness, so good. And you mentioned how close it got to rated R. For me, I could have done with so much less language, but I get that that's Matt Reeves' style.
Yeah.
And I don't personally, like when I watch something, I can just filter it out. It doesn't bother me.
Sure.
That doesn't, you know, other people it does, but like for me, it didn't bother me. So, you know, I was, aside from that, and then that scene with Catwoman undressing, I could have done without that. And I don't need either of those, but like the fact that it was so close to R and it wasn't, but it was still good. It was like, I don't know. It was like eating a really good dessert, I guess is a good way to put it. So tonally speaking, perfect to me. I loved it.
Well, and it's interesting too, and I read this online as far as just the rating goes. I read this somewhere, and maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I know we've got some UK listeners. I read that in the UK, they got their R-rated equivalent over there. Like, Batman was given the R-rated equivalent for us over there. I think it's something like you have to be 15 or older to get in. It doesn't matter if a parent's with you or not. That's what I was reading online, at least. Like, you have to be 15 or older.
I'm dumping tea in a harbor tonight because that's messed up.
And I don't know if that's fact. I might be spreading misinformation here, but that's what I read. I'm just sharing what I've read, at least.
It wouldn't be the first time we've actually spread misinformation.
Sure. But it's still to that point, though. It is really dark, and just at this point, if you're watching the video, you've seen the movie, you know how dark it is. Let's see. Any other thoughts on the tone of the film before we move forward?
No, but Ezra West says the narration was like Batman's inner monologue in the comics brought to screen.
Ooh.
And I'm glad he brought that up. It was something I wanted to say, but I didn't want to just go on a big tangent. Those 5 different Batman animated films I watched, one of them was A Death in the Family, where Jason Todd, Robin, is killed and he comes back as Red Hood. That is a 30-minute, animation film, and the whole time Batman's narrating, so like you get the tone of where they could have picked up for this,
Yeah.
So that's all I want to say on that, but I like that they did that too, Ezra. I thought that was good stuff.
And I thought the good soup. I thought the speaking of that, the journaling that he was doing, because that's what his narration that's the device that he was using to narrate. Gosh, that's fantastic.
It was so good.
I really want to read that. Like, I wish they would release that somehow as a prequel to this movie, because obviously there's more entries in there. There's more entries in that journal because it says year 2.
Year 1. Yeah, he's got his whole year 1 in there.
Release it.
I know
Release
we
it.
could just go read or watch Batman Year 1.
Sure.
But I don't want to do that. I want to see what this has got,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Have it audio book of Robert Pattinson just reading the entire journal.
That sounds like worth it.
They would
a little bit.
They would have to overpay him way too much to do that.
Get Andy Serkis to do it.
Hey, that's a great idea.
It could be like Bruce Wayne died, but I'm still here. I'm going to read his journals now to you.
There you go.
Kind of deal.
There you go. Okay, next reflection question. What did we think of the overall story of the Riddler exposing corrupt political figures? Because me, when I went into this film, I didn't really have expectations. I didn't know what to expect, but that's not something that I was thinking was possible. And immediately out the jump, it kind of seemed that way. Once I kind of realized that he was killing this former mayor, and we started to kind of get deep into the political landscape of it all, of Gotham City, I knew we were heading that direction, and gosh, it was great. For me, I loved it. I loved that plot device. It really allowed those detective tones to shine through for our character.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you on the detective tones. I think that this is definitely a part of life imitating art. There are a lot of people who, and at least in America, who are just upset with the political structure. And because of the reasons, and some of them are valid, and some of them are just outlandish, and without naming names or sides.
Sure.
But it's nice to, kind of see, if there was somebody crazy enough in the world, I could see all of this happening.
That's a great, gosh. That was one of the first things I said walking out of the theater.
Yeah.
Was I looked to my wife, Maddie, and I said, what made that thing feel so dark is the fact that it feels like it could happen.
It really
right now in Chicago, it doesn't matter. And the only problem is we don't have Batman to rely on. We got to somehow deal with it ourselves.
Well, I think weirdly enough, crazy kind of always rises to meet crazy.
Sure.
And make no mistakes about it. If Bruce Wayne was real, this man would be in an asylum. Okay. He's crazy. Okay. No, Jim Gordon in this movie is just it's okay, leave him there, it's fine. It's no, it's not. This guy's nuts, and so's Riddler's crazier, but this guy's also nuts, you know? So I think that why, as far as the tone goes and like the structure of, seeing how this could all play out. I remember somebody telling me years ago that they could see the Dark Knight happening. You can see something like the Dark Knight happening, but it still felt a little too
far-fetched. Yeah.
This one, not really.
Yeah.
Even the way that Riddler had like an online community and they all came back at the end. I mean, dadgum.
The only problem I have with that whole little stream set up and having his own little followers, that information of him making that plan would leak more than likely to the big guys out there.
Eventually, it would get to like the FBI or whoever.
Right.
But we can't. Let's get kind of actually real.
Here we go.
We can't prevent every terroristic attack. We
sure.
just can't.
Right.
And Jack Reacher starring freaking Jim Halpert, John Krasinski. That, or is it Jack Reacher? I can't remember now.
It's not Reacher. Jack Ryan.
Jack Ryan. Too many Jacks out there. Jack could have been Jack Sparrow for all I know.
Could have been Jack Wayne.
Yeah. But watching
the stepson.
Watching Jack Ryan kind of, helps you understand the other side of it a little bit, I think. And it's fictional character, but like, could Jack Ryan exist in the world of Gotham? I mean, like, yeah, sure. Why not? I think watching that kind of play out would be neat, but he has a hard time getting his superiors to like, listen. So I could see that there being like some dude at the CIA being like, hey, there's this creepy dude in Gotham, and they're like, screw it, it's Gotham, we don't care. Like, I could just see that going down, but then it like gets out of hand.
Yeah,
I feel like this is something that could happen.
No, and I agree. It seems like literally, really every part. It seems like it's happened before in our real world. It's just pieced together of all of these different little events that have happened here for us to just throw it all on one character of the Riddler, rather than it just be sprinkled all throughout society and events that happened over the years. It was it really hit home sometimes. Like, ooh, that seems very realistic, chilling to the bone, like I've mentioned heavily in my reaction. Okay, next, I wanted to discuss the similarities between Riddler and Batman, because I feel like that was, at the very end of this film, a big thing that Matt Reeves wanted you to consider, was the fact that these two actually have a very similar character structure. It's just one of them is extreme and the other's extremely extreme. That's really the only difference between these two guys. Wearing a mask, and fighting all of these inner things, and being orphans, not having parents after. I don't know. Did they share how Edward's parents died?
Not that I remember.
Okay, I didn't think so. But some big similarities between the two. Thoughts on that?
I mean, like I said a second ago, they're both crazy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, these are two insane men who are dressing up, one like a bat and one in what looks like a leather trash bag. I mean, this Riddler is different because, it's a different mask, and, the glasses are over the mask, which is just like, why? I mean, the guy's just a dork, I feel like. But at the same time, there are people in this world who are dorky people, just outcast, and then go south so quickly.
Yeah.
In the story of how the Joker becomes the Joker, he basically said, it's called The Killing Joke. I mean, if you haven't seen it or read it, you should, because it's a great Batman story. But he says all it takes is one bad day. And sometimes that's the case, but I feel like with Riddler, it was multiple bad days. And that led to where he was trying to, dirty the Wayne name through, trying to hurt Thomas Wayne, and as a result, trying to hurt Bruce Wayne. I'm still not totally convinced that Riddler knew who Batman was.
Yeah.
Speaking of, because he gets down to the end and it looks like he's saying, I know you're Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, that's how I initially thought of it too. Yeah.
But then there's like, after he says Bruce Wayne, he does that whole thing.
Gosh.
Then he like says something that's like, but I had no idea. Or I thought you were somebody. Or he says something, and then Pattinson backs up and goes, he doesn't. It's like he's thinking he doesn't know it's me. I may have just totally miss something?
No,
That's what it looked like.
and again, this is where a second viewing would come in clutch right now, because
Yes.
that's how I initially interpreted as he knew that
Yeah.
Batman is Bruce. But I've read online that that's not the case at all. So I
I
need
don't
to go
think he
back and
does.
watch.
Yeah.
I need to
I
go
don't
back
think
and
he
watch.
knows. Yeah. I mean, as soon as this comes out to, Blu-ray, I'm picking this thing up.
100%.
I pride myself on owning a copy of every Batman film.
Yeah. Oh,
And
nice.
so, yeah, I mean, DVD or Blu-ray, but like it's whatever. You can get 2 Batman films in the $5 DVD bin at Walmart. I know that
Yeah.
because I saw it in there like 3 days ago.
Sure.
Sidebar: I went to Walmart yesterday and I saw a fight on my way in. I just want to throw that out there. And it was actually wasn't a very good fight, but I was like, this is Walmart behavior, flat out. This would never happen at Target. Anyway, that's just free.
There you go. There you go. Okay, so those were kind of the big questions that I had, just overall themes, things to discuss after seeing the film. But now let's actually get into some just spoiler moments and things that just stood out to me. And the first thing that I listed, the score. Goodness gracious. Michael Giachino is, I put in the notes, he's that guy, pal. He's that guy.
Is that guy.
He needs to, I'm a Star Wars guy here. He needs to be the next man up. He's just too good. He's way too good.
He did Rogue One.
Right, yes.
And I was thinking about this a lot. I listened to the soundtrack. I had to run around the other day and was listening to a bunch of soundtracks, or listening to the soundtrack, and I got through like half of it. But the whole time I'm listening to it, I just kept thinking, man, we're entering into a new era of score. Like for the last, really, John Williams is the man. He always will be. Okay. But then like other guys like Danny Elfman, Alan Silvestri, and Danny Elfman did the Batman 89 and like every Tim Burton movie. And then, Alan Silvestri has done the Avengers up teen times and like Back to the Future. And then you got Hans Zimmer, who's done already 2 Batman films, or franchises, I should say, not to mention Gladiator and all these other things. So I think we're with Giachino and guys like John Powell and Ludwig Göransson, we're getting into a new era of film score. I'm kind of nerding out because I love film score.
No, you're good, man.
I love listening to film music. So we're getting into a point where people like Giachino are about to take over the film industry when it comes to these epic, movie scores. And yes, he's done Star Wars. Yes, he's done Batman, and he's done other stuff too. But we're going to get to a point where Giachino could potentially become a household name. I mean, did you see that video that went viral of that news anchor lady? Like, dun, 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 dun. She's
no,
like,
I haven't seen that.
Oh, I got to find it and send it to you because it went viral. And then she like continued it. She's on air and they're listening to the music, and her co-anchor is this like 60-something-year-old guy who could give a rip. And she's like 30-something, and she's just like, yes, this is awesome. And I'm like, that's what we're talking about. That's what a film score is supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it did. So Giachino, bless you, sir, if you're listening.
Yeah,
you're the best.
Yeah. If you're listening, man, compose us some music for.
Come on the show.
There you go. Come on the show and tell us all about how you came up with that beautiful score.
We'll talk
for the
Rogue
Batman.
One and Batman. That's all we'll talk.
Gosh,
that would be a great.
I would love to hear just
Man.
him share how he comes up with those things, man.
Man, film composers they're geniuses.
They're
they
wizard.
They are straight up wizard. We need to come up with a nice little show game where we can say wizard.
Wizard. Yeah. All right. So score was my first thing that I wanted to mention. Second thing, the opener. Just this idea of being Halloween moments, and then the line of like him, quote unquote, I am the shadows. I was hooked. I was already hooked with the Riddler's introduction, but when Batman's explaining like how people in Gotham view him, Matt Reeves gets it. That was literally my thought when I was seeing all this. Matt Reeves, you get it, sir. Great opener.
What's so cool to me about that line, though, he goes from being the shadows to being the light in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be a character thing. Matt Reeves knew what he was doing, taking a character from being in the shadows to being literally a hero that people can rely on.
Yeah.
That's a big part of that. But this opener, without going too much further, yes. I mean, this is where I got the Blade Runner vibes.
Mhm.
It's so cool. It's
Yeah.
so cool.
Agreed. And I've already mentioned this earlier when we were talking about Riddler. The first appearance I put in there, scary good.
Yeah.
Scary good. Paul Dano, like, goodness gracious. Incredible. I really don't know what else to say about the dude as far as his portrayal of this character. Just absolutely incredible. I loved the funeral scene because there wasn't really that much dialogue, but you could just feel the emotion in the room with the way it was shot, with the body language of all of the actors and actresses on set. For some reason, that funeral scene has stuck with me. I don't know why necessarily, but it was great. It was great.
That's probably the thing I have thought about the least. But, now that you're saying it, you're right. Like, everything you're saying, that added to so much of the tone. And that was our big Bruce Wayne moment too. Let's not forget that was really our only actual Bruce Wayne moment, because
like in front of people. Yes.
Yeah, people are like, holy crap, that's Bruce Wayne, and they're like taking pictures.
Hey, Bruce. The officer that's totally geeking out.
Yeah, he just can't, and he has no idea it's the same guy, that he saw in the bat suit. It's just even better.
Can we talk about the commissioner or general or lieutenant or whatever that has a really weird voice?
That dude's a douche. Okay? That dude sucked.
And I tried to make a note. Like, I tried to, while I was watching the film, start practicing his voice, because I really wanted to open the show tonight with his voice, but I totally lost it because I completely forgot about it as I watched the second and third act of the film. But it really stood out to me. I don't remember what that dude's name is, but I gotta figure out so I can do an impression.
It wasn't like a character name I recognized, but that dude was a jerk. Like, that dude, shove off.
Yeah.
You don't want to, I hate saying this, but it's a movie, so I guess it doesn't matter. I'm okay. He's dead.
Did he die?
You missed that part? He died.
He died? When?
Riddler killed him. It was like a major point.
Killed who?
That was the guy who got chewed up by rats.
No, not that guy. Not that guy. There was a guy that had a really weird voice.
The chunky guy who was talking to Gordon at the mansion in the beginning of the movie?
No, this is the guy that was talking to Gordon inside the police station after they've brought Batman in. After the bomb went off.
I don't remember that guy.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Again, we need a second watch. Watch.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, I've already mentioned the detective side of Batman. I feel like we've kind of touched on that. We haven't touched on the Iceberg Lounge. I really enjoyed Batman arriving to that lounge, and it gave us that kind of in-club fight scene. And for me, that immediately took me back to as a kid. One of the biggest animation movies that I watched all the time was Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker with Mark Hamill as Joker, and that immediately took me back there of seeing Batman in those in-club scenes just kicking butt. And the way it was shot was great. I loved the flashing lights kind of on his suit, and he was just going ham. It was great. What were your just overall impressions of Iceberg Lounge? Because I know that's the first time we've mentioned it.
Well, it reminded me of the very brief fight scene from The Dark Knight when Batman fights in a club to go get Carmine Falcone, or Maroni. Maroni in that film. And that reminded me a little bit of that. But, in the TV show Gotham, you visit the Iceberg Lounge a lot. I mean, you're in it quite a bit. And so watching it in this was like, okay, it's nothing like that. It's also not like anything from the Arkham Asylum video games, Batman Arkham Knights or anything like that. Because in that, it was all like iced over, and there were like penguin bombs and all kinds of stuff you had to do as Batman to get away from. This was just flat out a club, and that's all it was. So for me, it was just like, okay, it hasn't gotten to that full blown, this is Penguin's place yet.
Yeah.
Which is just another reason why I want to see Penguin again.
Sure.
But I think I did like Iceberg Lounge. It just it was missing something, but I think it was only missing something because it's not there yet.
Yeah.
And if that makes sense.
So question for you, because I was trying to remember this.
Yeah.
What was the name of like the all exclusive kind of basement part of the club?
It was like Club 404 or Club 440.
Okay.
Has
that shown up anywhere else before, or is that new?
I really don't know. You know,
Okay.
if it has, it's I bet it would have been in Gotham,
Okay.
the series, but I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was just curious as far as where
Yeah.
you were at with that place. Great moments in there, but I can see what you're saying. I can see how, you know, with prior knowledge of what that location is, because I personally didn't have prior knowledge of what Iceberg Lounge was or is. Without me having that, I enjoyed it, but I can see what you're saying as far as knowing that that's the Penguins' spot. And so eventually I'm sure it's going to just expand even more and become even more of a scene. Next up, the car chase. Even better in film, folks. It was definitely one of the biggest things that was marketed. And that's one thing that I shared in my reaction was if I had a negative, it was the fact that we were already shown the best moment of the film, in my opinion, and it didn't really, like, elevate. That's just my opinion. You know, there might be a spot in the film where you enjoyed more. But for me, my favorite scene of the film was the car chase, by far. Hearing that engine cut on and him revving it up, I got chills all over my body when that happened, and I was hooked.
I was the same way. This is the only, I told my dad and my cousin, we were talking today at lunch. I said, because I work with both of them. They were asking me, well, how was it? And I was like, you have to see this in a theater.
Yes.
First of all, like, this is theater viewing. You got to. But secondly, I told him that car chase scene, my mouth has never dropped to the floor so many times.
Yeah.
They were just, I mean, first of all, you mentioned the car revving up. I was like, oh, he got shot, but like, he's going to be fine. You know, it's Batman. Mm-hmm. So like he runs off and then you hear the car flip on and it just idles and then it just hums. And I was like, that's what the Batmobile sounds like. Like, forget what you've seen before. Minus Adam West, okay? The Adam West Batmobile is the best. I'm just saying. But
this one's the best.
This one, it's right there. I mean, it just hummed. It was it was just the best Batmobile, you know, they could have had for this film, and it was so stellar. I mean, watching the progression of the chase scene, and then thinking, how is he going to get to Penguin after the blockade of vehicles was there? Now, I know it was a CG shot.
Yeah, and it turned into Fast and Furious there for a second.
I didn't care because I was like, the way it all, like, it's a comic book movie, so the way it all, like, lined up and he was able to launch himself, I was like,
okay,
this is great. Like, I was so excited. I know it's a comic book movie, okay?
Right.
I know it's all fake, but like,
hey, it could happen. It could happen.
Spend reality for just a second and watching that trailer become a ramp. I was like, take me now, Jesus. I'm ready. That was so cool.
No, I gotta see Kenobi first.
I know. I keep saying that, like, I'm good, but then you're like, Kenobi. Like, all right, right. But like, my mouth, I was just sitting there watching. I was like,
yeah.
I mean, so many times I couldn't believe it.
Maddie made fun of me while watching this scene because she looked at me and I was just laughing. I was literally laughing out loud out of enjoyment of watching this. Yeah. And she just looked at me and just shook her head, smiling like, "Hey, I'm a kid again. Just leave me alone. Let me enjoy my moment, dadgummit."
When you watch stuff like that, you can't help but just be like, "Oh my gosh!" You just gotta freak out.
Oh, it was so cool. It was so. And speaking of the Batmobile, again, very realistic until we kind of got to the back end of the vehicle, but front end of the vehicle and everything, very realistic and reflection of kind of, again, this real world type of story that Matt Reeves told. So he whoever constructed it, concept arted that thing, great job. Fit the tone, fit everything to do with this movie. Okay, the next thing that I have, this was probably Maddie's biggest thing that she said to me, so I definitely wanted to mention it. Because if she's saying it, then other people might say it too. The conversation between Bruce and Alfred in the hospital, she thought was extremely like emotional and touching, and very reflective of where Bruce is heading next. I think at this moment it kind of clicked to him about, I guess, maybe turning away from just like being this dark, shadowy type figure for Gotham City and turning into the light, the hope that people can look to. I think this was one of those moments where it kind of internally clicked for him. What did you think of this? Because I know this is like Andy Serkis's big scene where he can show off his acting chops.
Yeah, and I love Andy Serkis. I wanted more of him in this movie, but this was his big scene. You're right. And this is where he was a lot like Michael Caine's Alfred in saying like, this is about the family's legacy. This is not just about you and your mission. Like he's getting on to him like a father should, and that's where in Batman Begins, you see a lot of that. And then by the time you get to the end of that, Bruce Wayne's like, I know how to be both. And I think by the end of this movie, Bruce Wayne is going to know how to be both Bruce Wayne and Batman. Like that's the thing that you have to learn and you have to be ready for. It's like when people say things like he's not a good Bruce Wayne, but he's a good Batman, or the other way around, like George Clooney is a great example of a good Bruce Wayne, but a bad Batman, but you can't say that about Pattinson because there's a chance we could see him again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think we should see him again. I want to see him again. But all that to say, Alfred is kind of the catalyst for that. And I really thought they were about to kill off Alfred. And I was like, you really going to kill off Alfred? Like,
I was concerned there for a second too. Very concerned.
Yeah, and I'm glad they didn't. But this is really good. It's not at all Andy Serkis's best performance.
Right.
But it was, oh my goodness, it was good.
It was good.
Very, very good.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Again, complex plot. It's hard to remember it all. Isn't this the moment where Alfred kind of reveals to Bruce that, yes, Thomas, your dad did get kind of dirty, but he didn't he didn't want to kill. That was Falcone's decision. Yeah, and then from there, Alfred also shares that he has a belief that Falcone's the one that had the Wayne parents killed because they were going to report him to the police.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Okay,
yeah,
I thought so. Thought so.
My favorite
deep stuff there. Deep stuff there.
Even deeper, the best thing revealed through all of this is that Martha Wayne's maiden name is Arkham.
Yes, I'm so glad you pointed that out because that was a big takeaway of mine too there while watching it.
I was loving that for a big reason. And hello, Derpy Gaming, right back to you.
What up, Derpy?
Glad you've joined us.
Hello there.
One thing I love about that, though, yes, hello there, is that have you ever seen Flashpoint or read Flashpoint, where Barry Allen, the Flash, goes back and saves his mother from dying, but it screws up the rest of the timeline?
I haven't seen it, but I have heard of it.
Okay, so in this timeline, yes, it was.
Derpy says this was the Batman film.
It was. It is. In that story, Thomas and Martha Wayne survive, and Bruce Wayne is killed in the alley as a kid. So Thomas Wayne becomes Batman, but it drives Martha insane, and she becomes the Joker. So when they said Martha Wayne's last name was originally Arkham, I immediately went to that and I was like, oh heck yes. So I was like, let's see that story. I was thinking that was dope. So given all of the things that Riddler laid out, and then what Alfred laid out, and then what Falcone laid out, and you find the truth in the whole story from Alfred, you're like, this is wild.
Yeah.
This is what's brought. And then the fact that she had some crazy tendency now gives us, oh, that's why Bruce Wayne is half a bat, it's cool stuff.
Yeah.
All around.
Now, I still think in the end, they could, if there's a sequel, if they wanted to, they could probably maybe add an extra layer to what Alfred says. Like, I'm not 100% on board that it was, in fact, Falcone, but it makes sense. Certainly makes sense that it was. And, I mean, that's like 80% positive, yes. Falcone's the one that had the Waynes killed, but you never know. You never know what could come next. Okay, next thing that really stood out to me was the conversation between Batman and Riddler. Like, I felt this, how a lot of times as far as, well, first of all, Heath Ledger did phenomenal in The Dark Knight throughout, but one of the big scenes, and I think it was the scene that they used during the Oscars when he won Best Supporting Actor, was the interrogation moments between him and Batman. Like, they showed that scene during the Oscars, if I remember correctly. This was Paul Dano's moment. Like, the whole Bruce, and then like the no, like he just went crazy, fully committed to this character. Phenomenal acting. If this movie is going to win any kind of Oscars as far as acting performances go, I think this is the scene where they might give Paul Dano a nomination or something. So what did you think of this moment?
I agree that this is the scene that could get the, supporting, nomination or something. It's not better than the Heath Ledger
Oh,
Christian
yeah.
Bale. I
No.
mean,
No.
I'm seeing people say that, and I'm like, have you watched The Dark Knight recently? Like, objectively, I love that movie as a fan.
Oh, yeah.
But objectively, the best one-on-one characters, seen in a movie that I've seen. I've never seen two people just, this gets close, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not the same. Now it's a great scene. This is the scene I want to dissect the most. I think, because again, I have no idea if he knows he's Bruce Wayne or not.
Right.
But this is the scene I want to dissect the most. He just further showing his acting chops and the beauty of what he does as an actor. Paul Dano. It's just good stuff.
Yeah, I really, really can't wait to watch it again to see that moment. The next thing that really stood out to me, the red flare moment with the people of Gotham following him in the arena after it's all kind of crumbled and everything's kind of settled. Very meaningful, symbolic, and also just beautifully shot.
It's just showing that it's showing the people of Gotham, you can trust me. I've got your back. I will fight for you. Like, he's always been that. Always, but the people have never owned Batman, not since the 60s, not since Adam West. And that's what I loved about that moment the most, I think.
Yeah. Okay. The last thing that I had here, and then maybe I can turn it to you, DJ, to share if you have any other additionals that maybe I overlooked. We already mentioned it, but the tease of Barry Keoghan, I think that's how you say his last name. I may be butchering it, whatever, as Joker. I really, really hope that we're not done with seeing this really extremely talented dude take on this character, because I just read recently an article from Variety, I believe, that Matt Reeves, as far as him putting Joker in it, he says in there, like, I'm not directing it quote by quote here, but I'm not reciting it quote by quote here.
Yeah.
But he says something along the lines of, do not view that scene as like his version of Marvel's end credit scene of what you can expect next. It was just something he felt like was natural as far as the story goes, but he has not fully committed to even bringing Joker into a second Batman movie. Now, he doesn't back away from the idea of bringing Joker into like the Gotham PD show that they're working on for HBO Max, or the Penguin show, or anything like that. But he does hesitate about potentially him being in a direct sequel to this film.
I read that Penguin show is no longer happening, and Matt Reeves has been said we're developing something else.
Really?
I read that today.
From who? Do you remember?
I saw it from Fandom on Instagram.
I'll have to check it out.
I didn't go any further than the actual image, but I saw this one thing and I was like, hey, you know what? If they're not going to do that series, cool, because that means that there may be a sequel coming. And it could be Penguin and Joker, which I've never seen them on screen together outside of the 60s. So,
well, I'll be honest, I want to see the connection between Riddler and Joker fleshed out more based off of this tease.
That'll probably create some kind of like united underworld as it was in the 1960s Batman film, but time will tell.
Yeah. Okay, so Derpy says they canceled the GCPD show, so the Gotham City Police Department show.
I mean, I think that they are canceling all that stuff because of the success of this movie. They just know they have something good here. But
yeah.
I mean, I could be
wrong.
Knows? Derpy also says Penguin show's happening, but that's not what I read. I just didn't read that today.
Oh! I actually think I know what Derpy is referencing. I think I read maybe yesterday that the Gotham City Police show was turning into a show focused on Arkham instead, and so they weren't gonna necessarily dive into the.
I did see an Arkham related show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see, though. We'll see. Anyway, let's get on with our discussion here. Let's start kind of wrapping this up. I do want to pass it on to DJ. Any other things, moments from the film that you want to just share?
So you wrote in the notes, does this film honor the legacy of Batman? Yes, especially given that Adam West has recently passed away, and he's the White Knight, where everybody else is kind of the Dark Knight. But this is a great addition to the legacy of Batman because it brings about so many things, and I loved it so much. But really, I have two reasons why this movie was successful. okay, they released the theme song ahead of the film release, which doesn't always happen. You don't get that a lot nowadays. But Warner Brothers, knowing they screwed up with the Justice League, I feel like we got to get this thing out there. And so they put the music out there, and it was like, I remember me and you were talking about it. We were like, okay, there's something a little different about this. And you were like, this is the best one. I was like, hold your horses. We don't know it's the best one yet. Okay. And I'm still not sure if it's the best one. I've got to really reevaluate a lot of things.
I don't remember the conversation necessarily going that way.
That's how I feel now. You know,
I know you had initially said I think I was pretty like, okay, this is great. Yeah. This is the best. And you said something like, after hearing it, I'm not sure. I really,
what I did,
I don't like it, is what you were saying. But then I was like, wait until we see the film. That's when we can actually judge it.
Well, I'm at the point. Yeah, that's right. And I actually, to prove my point, I made you a playlist with every Batman theme on it.
Yeah,
and
you
sent it to you. And I was like,
Nerd alert.
Tell me this. I was like, tell me that this is not, these aren't better, you know, to some degree. But I mean, that's probably not entirely true. It's better than the Batman '89 theme.
Yeah.
The people that most people say like that's the Batman theme. This theme's better.
Oh, it's the best. I stand by my initial reaction.
That Dark Knight.
Has another theme ever had a news anchor go viral?
I mean, probably. I don't know. Probably not, actually.
I don't know either. I'm just coming up with some bogus supporting argument.
Oh, I know. Well, here's the second thing I loved about the why this movie is successful. The marketing. They marketed this movie perfectly. Everything about it was online constantly. I kept seeing trailers for it on TV, and I don't even watch TV. I have streaming services.
Yeah.
So like I kept seeing it there. I've seen it, you know, I've heard people talk about it. I haven't necessarily seen billboards, but I've continuously seen it. And it's the marketing is part of the reason this is so successful. And if I may, Caleb, I'm going to go ahead and just jump into the current box office numbers.
Do it.
Because the marketing, I think, proves the success here. Domestically, 134 million as of, what is that, yesterday?
That was about this morning is when I typed that in there.
Okay. So after today, it's definitely going to have gone up.
Yeah.
You know, internationally, 124 million total, 258 million. That's a successful movie. Okay. I don't know what the overall budget was, but I did read somewhere that this had the same budget as Black Widow. And I thought, this had the same budget as Black Widow. Okay. What were they doing on Black Widow? You know, because Black Widow was okay, but like it wasn't this. And you're like, it just shows which you get the right people in the right place. You get yourself a daggum good movie, you know? Yeah. And so you even said, why do I bring this up? The success increases the possibility of a sequel. I'm of the same opinion. I mean, truly, you know, do you want to add anything to that kind of question you pinned there?
No, other than if I was to just pose this question, what's the likelihood of a sequel? I'm going like 85% minimum.
It's gone up.
Like 85% minimum. I expect to see a sequel to this movie at this point.
Before seeing it, I would have said it's like a 40% chance of a sequel. After seeing it, which is so weird because it's Batman. We just expect a sequel.
Right.
But now I would put my expectations much higher, especially after hearing that they have, if I've read it right, shelved the Penguin show, shelved the GCPD show. And now they're like, we're going to do something. You know, I've read Matt Reeves is like, we're working on something. He didn't say what it was. He didn't even say the word sequel.
Right.
But, you know, he said, we're working on something, which, you know, you don't put Matt Reeves in a position like that unless it's going to be freaking legit.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and say that where I was 40 before, I'm going to go with like, I'm a solid like 80, 85 now.
Nice.
You know,
right there with me.
I mean, it's just, it was too good.
It was too good.
I bought the t-shirt because this is now, I'm in a little bit of an existential crisis because I don't know who my Batman is.
Nice.
It's either I'm just gonna be. I think this conversation has helped me.
Okay.
It's either Christian Bale or it's Pattinson. It sure as heck ain't Ben Affleck.
Okay. Let me just say, I don't want to. We could dive deep into this, but
yeah,
I will say this. I think for right now, because I was still in my teens when Bale was Batman. My age now gives me the ability to analyze the Batman character a lot more than when Bale was coming out, and that's making me enjoy this Pattinson version a lot right now, is because I get to live in this moment, and see kind of what the director's vision was and dissect it more than I was able to do with Bale and his portrayal. So that in itself, and just me being able to be in this moment, is really putting Pattinson that high up there. But I'm like you, I don't like to decide which one's the favorite personally, because like I said earlier in the stream, I love them all. Most of the times. And Bale has always been, because we grew up with him, but like I said, I'm now at a different stage in life where I can just analyze this stuff some more. Yeah. And Pattinson really brought a good portrayal to give us something to chew on and analyze. So I say all that to say I don't know.
I think that's just my inner nerd. It's just like, you got to choose. You have to. You can't say you like them both. You have to have one that's better.
Sure.
You know, like I feel like I have to say that. It's kind of like, who do you like better, Luke Skywalker or Anakin Skywalker? It's so hard to choose.
That's fair. Well, okay. So, I think I'll have a decision after I see it a second time. I think I can say that.
I probably will too.
All right, man. Anything else you want to say?
No, I mean, this is, if you haven't seen it and for some reason you're watching this, you need to see this movie. But, I loved it. I can't wait to see it again. I hope I can see it again soon. I told my wife, Hillary, I want to see this movie. Like, I've wanted to see it every day since I've seen it.
Yeah.
And it's very hard for me to not just drop everything and go to a theater, because like, do I have 3 hours to spend? I really don't.
Right.
But do I really want to dedicate that time? Oh man, do I? You know? But so I may never get to see this movie in a theater again, but I have to accept that, and so I just look forward to seeing it again.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the hopeful, inevitable sequel. If Warner Brothers is got somebody who kind of puts their people out there and listens to all these little tiny podcasts and even the big shows and everything like that, I hope that somebody comes across Mando Talk / Geekverse Reactions and says, okay, there's two guys here who really care about it. Let's consider their, consider that opinion, to some degree.
Yeah, we're important.
I think we are. I consider us to be very important. One person told us on the internet, I know it was just one, but I should have said 100, but one person told us that we have the best Star Wars analysis of any show out there. I saw that in a comment.
I remember that. Hey, I remember that.
That comment bought me like a month.
Just like Cassie and Andor would say, make 10 men feel like 100.
Absolutely.
Let's go.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good soup all the way.
All right. Well, listen, guys, we appreciate you checking this out, and I'm really hoping to go and see this film a second time, and maybe we can discuss it even more after we see it a second time. Who knows? Because like we said earlier, we want to keep bringing the Geekverse Reactions content, but just know every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, we are live to do our Star Wars news reports, discussions, things like that. So we're going to keep on bringing the content, maybe down a little bit compared to when Boba Fett was coming out, because it's kind of off season for Star Wars, which is great. Gives us some time to reflect and make sure that we're bringing great content. So if you like what you see, make sure you hit the like button on the video. And if you haven't subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. DJ, thank you for being back, man. It was great to have this. It has felt way too long, and I can't wait to start cranking this stuff out weekly again.
Me too. I can't wait to keep doing this with you. I told my wife, I said, I've been hiding my excitement for how glad I am that we're back to this. So, well, I guess I'll send us out of here. So thank you guys so much for listening. I echo everything Caleb just said. And as we say here at Geekverse Reactions, we will see you on Earth 2. Later, guys.